News Radio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Ben Reichley.
Greetings and welcome on board the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. It is entitled On the Mark. I'm Mark Lawrence, host of the show. Let's see, political subpar Democrat, not even a good Republican, was a lousy independent. And across from me is the ultra-conservative, but always was willing to listen to all sides, Republican committee person Ben Reichley. On the other side of the glass is Kevin Hurst. Street-level conservatism is the subpar, or the subtitle for his name. No, he's not subpar in any way. He's the greatest producer the world has ever known. Has won so many awards they had to be jettisoned into space. They now interfere with the International Space Station, but at least they show up as rings around the Earth.
Mark, there's a rumor that Kevin's awards now are being shown in the lobby of Spacely Sprockets.
Oh, no kidding. Well, that's interesting.
George Jetson stopped by, picked some up, and they took some to his home, but also now if you can get up into orbit, which a lot of people are at times, if you can stop in at Spacely Sprockets, you can see some of Kevin's awards.
I know they have one of the big Associated Press awards, the big wooden one with the lion's head at the top. They are using it as a pendulum to show how the Earth's rotation can keep a free swinging pendulum going. It goes up and down about 3 stories, and it shows it goes in a circle.
Well, I think in Mr. Jetson's office, he's using one of them in the window so the sunspots, solar flares don't
affect them.
Irritate them.
Right, yeah, you can't radiate through them. They also serve as bulletproof wear if you wear one of the breastplates.
Well, it would put Kevin in the probably a category 1 as a universal humanitarian.
Yes, he is in his own category. That is, regardless of any puffery, that is definitely true. All right, so that is Kevin Hur, our producer. We're very glad to say we do have a guest here, and we'll be introducing him shortly. Our webcam is up and running thanks to Kevin's hard work, and yesterday Mark Mahoney's hard work. It's a crystal clear image, great audio. Get a quickie commercial from Ustream, then you get to watch the whole show. Just a couple of seconds behind us, but it is a very good way to enjoy the On the Mark program, so we invite you to join the billions of people who have the potential to log on WKOK.com and watch the show. There's often a 24-hour archive posted right there, but if you'd like to see previous shows, or maybe you've been on the show and you'd like to see yourself, go ahead and go to our YouTube channel in the archive, so the video stream are posted there. On the Mark brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, family-owned dealership since 1915, 4th Street, Sunbury, and routes 11 and 15 Hummel's Wharf. They're getting ready to celebrate their 100th anniversary. When they do, there'll literally be fireworks and all kinds of activities and fun at that location next year for you to help them celebrate. They're very much interested in making sure that you either enjoy a 99th anniversary Ford, Kia, Lincoln, or Hyundai, or a 100th anniversary vehicle. Just go down there and ask for Mike or any of the other good salespeople, and they'll get you squared away and make sure that you get to enjoy one of the vehicles that are for sale there. They got Mike DeFeo.
Do you think they might sell you a Raptor at 1915 pricing?
Oh, that would be nice, since the truck didn't exist then.
But
I don't even know if they had...
I believe there were some light pickups.
Okay.
In the Henry Ford story, it talks about the practicality. And it's a very interesting story, because he had to battle patents to be able to become an automaker. And I believe
he was ruthless.
No, he wasn't ruthless. He was persistent. He had to battle against a group that owned the patent, and I think it was I wish I could think of it. It was American Car Manufacturer, I think was the term, but he was persistent. But they did have a light pickup later, and but maybe Mark
later a Model T with a pickup bed.
Next year, maybe you can get a Raptor at 1915 pricing.
Yeah, they probably sold them for about $50. The new ones are $50 also, but you add a couple more zeros there. But yeah, the Raptor is the only thing I get to do in it is if I want to do a spectacle where I see how hot the truck can get, I'm allowed to sit in it on a sunny day, if we were to ever have one. On the Mark is brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, and despite our frivolity, they have 2 things that you need. One, 1, value. In other words, the dollar you spend goes for a lot of vehicle. And then 2, they have a selection. The Kia dealerships, Hyundai, Ford, and Lincoln. The vehicle that would aptly be called your next vehicle is available there. And it's also available to look at right now, sunburymotors.com. Lenape Solar email inbasket is open. You email on the market at KOK.com or read your emails on the radio. Lenape Solar, located at 140 South 2nd Street in Sunbury. Find them on the web at lenapesolar.com. Call them telephonically, 286-1496. They'd love to help you out. You didn't really need it so much this summer, but they can provide air conditioning to your home with their HVAC ductless systems. Very little unit outside, very little unit inside. You can put 3 or 4 of the units. No more window air conditioners, and then you can use it for an efficient form of heat in the winter, maybe a supplemental heat, or you can do like some folks have done. They've decided to decommission the boiler and go with just the ductless systems on either side of the home. And they're saving a buck, and they're enjoying temperatures that they can adjust rapidly, and it works great. LenapeSolar.com. And the Groninger Insurance toll-free line closes a half an hour early, but they're 24/7, 365 service for you. Today they're open 9 to 4:30, the rest of the week 9 to 5, and they close early so they can wrap up and make sure that they're all set to super serve anybody who has a Saturday appointment. Groningerinsurance.com is their main website. Go ahead and do some contact with them. You can ask for John, Jim, Paula, or Mel, and know that the Groninger boys and the women there are going to take good care of you and save you a buck on insurance. Bob Garrett is here. He worked, I think, was it Tom Ridge who said, would you come and help us out? Which governor?
You got it.
Is that what Tom it was?
Ridge.
Okay.
Yep, Congressman Tom Ridge at the time.
Okay. And he was governor-elect at the time and said, I need to put together somebody who's a go-to person for transportation, right?
Actually, Mark, when I went to work for him, he was running for re-election as a member of Congress from Erie. Worked for him for about a year and a half, and then was switched over to the gubernatorial race after the clouds had cleared a little bit. It was a 5-way race, if you remember, in the primary, and worked for him. Certainly focused on transportation, but I was what was called the coalitions director for the Ridge campaign. But Inauguration Day came around, and I went to work at PennDOT and left politics in the rearview mirror, and worked for about 18 years at PennDOT, trying to make the roads smoother and the trains run on time.
I remember Tom Ridge was the first person that said the race for the governor starts 4 years ahead of the election. And I thought, well, what does that mean? He says, well, that means you've got to appear places, go places, send faxes, distribute news releases. Now, this was pre-email. Now, of course, this is probably even more. But he said you have got to be out there. By the time the election nears, people can't say, Tom who?
Right.
And he solved that. I mean, yeah, he made sure he was everywhere.
Well, when Ben and I first met Tom Ridge, he was a guy that no one ever heard of from the town that no one's ever been to, Congressman Ridge from Erie, Pennsylvania. And if you remember, that became one of his television commercials.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah. Married the librarian because he did not want to pay his fines.
Oh, is that?
he used that.
That's some insider information.
Yeah, I don't know.
On the mark.
Isn't that funny?
And that was, I hate to say, but it was last century.
All right. So the individual that Tom wisely detected 20-plus years ago was definitely worth hiring is Bob Garrett. He's now heading the Greater Susquehanna Valley Chamber of Commerce. Put in a good stint in and around Harrisburg and helping leading up to that, and is now helping to run the regional chamber here that is always growing and thriving and monitoring and making sure that education, business, resources, and low-interest loans that companies and individuals and downtowns. Boy, just you guys are raising up women from time to time, making sure that the awards are going out.
Yeah, in fact, the Women's Leadership Group is meeting at the chamber as we speak. They're there right now planning their big event, which is coming up in about a month and a half or so.
Right, yeah, we've talked a little bit about that. Yeah, so fortunately, well, the Chamber's always been kind of making sure that women are in their role there. You still have probably more than half the staff as women, and then making sure that they're talked about and that any changes that need to happen in the Valley start to slowly change. And course, the Athena Award was something that was part of one of the Chamber's affiliates for a time. So that is, it's all good. Well, welcome aboard. I really do appreciate it. Greater Susquehanna Valley Chamber of Commerce. We're going to bring you in here to talk about the economy, and the Chamber is just getting busier and busier under your tenure. Let's talk about the unemployment rate, the numbers locally, and then we always talk about the second number. That real unemployment rate was in the upper teens. I'll hope that that's a little lower itself around here.
Well, maybe you have you have some news as far as the unemployment rate goes. You know, I'll start by saying Happy New Month. It's the first day of the month. We in my family we celebrate New Month. Why wait once a year and just do New Year? But New Month. It's also the first Friday of the month, which means a lot of economic data coming out. We're looking this morning. There should be out by now the employment report. We're looking nationwide for that to be up as much as 230,000 new jobs. Probably here in Pennsylvania should be somewhere around 15,000 new jobs or so. Also at 8:30 are the personal income and outlays, the consumer survey. Then a little bit later this morning will be the manufacturing report, the construction spending, and the report on business. So, Mark, do you have the hottest news?
Well, I'll read from the Associated Press. Dateline Washington, U.S. employers extended this year's hiring surge into July by adding a solid 209,000 jobs. It was the sixth straight month of job growth above 200,000, evidence that businesses are shedding some caution that had marked the 5-year economic recovery. The unemployment rate ticked up to 6.2% from 6.1% as more Americans started looking for work. Not all found jobs, but the increase suggests that they are more optimistic about their prospects. The jobless aren't counted as unemployed unless they are actively seeking employment.
You know, look for the stock market to give you a barometer of that, which is probably going to not be good, because they were looking for 230.
Yeah, the benchmark that had been set was 230, so we came in a little bit lower. Now, one thing you said there, Mark, that I want to clarify is people might be doing the math in their head after that news blast. Now, wait a second. How do you create 209,000 jobs, but the unemployment rate goes up? This is something that is called the participation rate. Our participation rate in America has been dropping. Wow, last 6 years, probably last 5 years or so, and we're almost to the point where there's more people not working than are working. And keep in mind, the participation rate are people that are able to work. It doesn't include children. It doesn't include the very elderly. It doesn't include people that are in some sort of an institution. So it's just the people that are available to work. The fact that percentage ticked up slightly means that there's more people starting to participate, which is good news. It's not enough good news. And frankly, I was hoping for just a flood of good news this morning, because if you've been listening to the stock market news, you know that the market, in fact, there's some people even starting to talk about a bubble that we might be in and about to burst. And hopefully there'll be enough good news that today isn't too bad. We're hoping it's not going to be a Black Friday, but don't look for the market to be up significantly today, if at all. No,
especially what happened in Asia and what's going on in Europe right now, and the Argentina hangover from yesterday. I mean, if they would have won the World Cup, their economy might have turned around.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's tough when you have a country the size of Argentina defaulting twice in 12 years.
Yeah, well, all these nations, Ben, are living on credit cards, and someday,
and we aren't.
At some point, and along with us, but at someday you're going to have to pay the piper. Yeah. So.
All right, very much appreciated that analysis. We talk about the real unemployment rate, and these are people that you and I know that are 30, 40, 50 years old, some 60-year-olds who have skills, lost jobs when the economy slowed, or just lost jobs. I mean, some things are not always related to the economy. Still looking for comparable employment. Has that image changed? We know a lot of those guys and women probably are working now, But what's the real unemployment rate? The sort of the underemployment level around here.
Well, I think what I would prefer to focus on, and I think Ben might have a better insight on this than I do, frankly. What I would focus on is that participation rate. What we want to try to do is get that rate up, get it back to the historic numbers. We're getting our unemployment rate down to the number where we like to see it. You know, we used to say 5% was full employment. Well, let's get that participation rate above 50% and beyond that, and then I think we'll be able to say maybe we are in recovery. But right today, I don't think we can say that until we get as many people as possible into the workforce, working and producing, and less people taking. You know, more people giving and less taking is what we're looking for.
And it looks like there's somewhere around 92 million in the country that are not participating in the workforce, that have dropped out of looking for work. So the participation rate is somewhat of a new factor over the last couple of years, but it's probably more of a leading indicator on what's going on. When I say a leading indicator, an indicator that should be leading than actual unemployment rate. And it depends. You see the manipulation of the unemployment rate. If a state doesn't report, that still gets thrown out there nationally. So we see the jobs report come out, we see unemployment go up and go down, and it's hard to sort of understand. You're thinking, but the economy, the numbers I hear, the economy to grow should be producing 350, 400,000 jobs in that range, and then that brings the people in from the participation level goes up. But we're struggling to get 200,000. I mean, when the AP writes a report that it's the 7th month in a row that it's been over 200,000, well, that's almost like saying your cleanup hitter in baseball hit 2 home runs a month. Well, no, he's supposed to be hitting 8 home runs a month. It's just not there. I mean, and I agree with you, Bob. You try to move on the positives. We'll see where construction spending is. It should probably be up a bit. The highway funding bill got a little bit of legs till the end of the year from the federal side, which affects every state, and certainly we know that around here with trying to get the bypass funded. Mm-hmm. But we'll also see where the manufacturing rate on the hard goods.
Right. One of our listeners sends us a note asking, is everybody who wants to work working?
No.
Well, clearly not. First off, there's the unemployment rate, which is a percentage that's still too high, and then there's the participation rate where I believe most people want to be gainfully employed in family-sustaining jobs. I think this notion of the welfare bum is just not accurate. And if I can, Mark, bring it a little bit closer to home and just talk a little bit about some of the efforts we're doing. We're absolutely focused at your Chamber of Commerce, at the Greater Susquehanna Valley Chamber of Commerce, on creating and sustaining new jobs. We believe that the real home run hit, to use Ben's analogy, is in retention and expansion of existing businesses, and we're going to be doing everything we can. And certainly when that thruway gets going, and we're getting closer and closer, and we're trying to expedite that, we're going to see that just in the construction jobs alone, almost $750 million in the construction. And then the multiplier effect, if you look at Interstate 99 and what that did for the Altoona Hollidaysburg area, the Bud Schuster Highway, I think we can see that kind of job growth here. We just have to make sure that we're ready when the thruway happens.
Yeah, we're logistically strangled, or let's say hamstrung in this area because of 13.2 miles. And also, when you look at what the effects, positive effects it's going to have on communities like Northumberland, Smoking Dam, and Monroe Manor, Winfield area, from a standpoint, now this is built. Now people can start to say, okay, I like to place my business there. I like to expand here. I like to move my business from Ashland over to, the thruway area. So once it gets built, then people can, quote unquote, go on. And there's a housing development now that can be put in, or some other things that have been on hold now for too long.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, but we're really digging deep into the local economy. If you have an observation or a question about that, we got really two experts in the building, and we would just love to continue that conversation.
Where are they at?
They're coming in during the 9 o'clock hour. But we also are going to talk about some of the activities and projects of the Greater Susquehanna Valley Chamber of Commerce. President and CEO of the Chamber is here, the big regional chamber. Bob Garrett is on board. Kevin Herz, the engineer. Ben Reichley is our co-host here. I'm Mark Lawrence. And you're the star of the show when you call the Groninger Insurance toll-free line, 1-800-795-9565. You're also welcome to email us at onthemark@wkok.com. It plops into the Lenape Solar email in basket. And do please patronize our sponsor, and that would be the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Here's a bright idea. Why not use light to carry billions of bits of data per second, making network connections hundreds of times faster and much more reliable? That's just what Penn Teledata's fiber optic network does. And we've invested in over 9,000 miles throughout our communities, connecting schools, banks, healthcare networks, and even wireless towers that enable your smartphone to be, well, smart. Know what else is smart? Connecting your business to our fiber network. See the light with Penn Teledata, your recommended source of fiber.
Would you trust a blocked artery to a plumber? Then why trust the health of your network to outdated technology? Connect at the speed of light with Penn Teledata's state-of-the-art true fiber optic network, offering the smartest, most reliable data connections to keep operations running stronger than ever before. That's why more doctors and business professionals trust their company to Penn Teledata. When choosing a provider, get a second opinion. You'll be glad you did. Penn Teledata, your recommended source of fiber.
Hi, everybody. Steve Jones of the appropriately named Steve Jones Show. Very clever. Don't forget, coming up today, we're going to have Tony DeFazio of the Pittsburgh Sports Report. That's 3 to 5. News Radio 1070 WKOK.
We got a lot to do in a short amount of time here. We got Bob Garrett for another 20 minutes or so, but CBS takes some of that, so we'll launch into it. He's in his 90th day as the head of the Greater Susquehanna Valley Chamber of Commerce, which means you're off probation. You're off parole, too.
I guess I'm here to stay.
All right, good for you. Well, thank you for that. And also a columnist in the Daily Item, lest I forget that he's a prolific writer about the outdoors. The Chamber, what's going on at the Chamber? Just busier and busier these days.
Well, since you brought it up, Mark, hummingbirds. This Sunday, that's what we're going to be focused on is hummingbirds. So you'll want to see that at the inside back cover of the sports page.
Yeah,
it's a sketch of a hummingbird feeding out of a trumpeter creeper.
I will say this. I know we want to get into some other things, but if you're an outdoors person, usually 3 to 4 very pertinent articles on the Sunday Daily Item back of the sports page.
Yep, we're the real deal, too. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Hey, I just want to mention a couple of things. It is my 90th day, so it's good to be back. And my staff told me that July was the month where we sort of get our energy back, and then we really get rolling. And if I can, I wanted to mention a couple of things that are coming up. First, starting with on October 2nd, Mark has already mentioned women's leadership, but our Women's Leadership Symposium will be held pretty much all day, 7:45 to 4 o'clock on October 2nd. That's up at the Country Cupboard. That's a fabulous event, and the keynote speaker, I'm told, this year is just out of this world. It's a woman who's put together several fundraisers supporting our troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. Our fall festival is scheduled for Thursday, September 25th. We'll be over at the Sunbury Social Club, and we have the Frank Wicker Band coming in, so that should be a great time. Make sure you catch that one. And then have a couple of business after hours coming up on September 17th. We're at Celmex in Selinsgrove, and on August 27th, so sort of the end of this month, we'll be at a business after hours that is being sponsored by the Hampton Inn and La Primavera. One of the big events is on September 11th, and that'll be at the La Primavera restaurant outside of Lewisburg, and that's our annual economic forecast luncheon, and we bring a speaker in from Sage Policy Group, Dr. Basu, and he talks to us about what to look for in the Valley. So you'll make sure you'll want to cover that for sure. And as many people as possible, we'll try to get you in there. And if I can just mention one more, is our monthly meeting for this month will be August 14th from 11:30 to 1 p.m. It's over at the Townside Garden Cafe in Northumberland. So hopefully you can come over, and we'll be hearing a Made in the Valley moment from Dr. Regia from the Freeburg Family Chiropractic, and the main presentation will be about Leadership Susquehanna Valley, a fabulous program that's now in its 20th year, over 500 graduates.
But you weren't you initial? You were part of the
actually,
grassroots
I was part of
that?
a team. It included Guy Temple and Rod Keller. Guy Temple from Penn State, Rod Keller from PPL, and also Gary Baylor from the Country Cupboard. And we started up, and Rod Wenning, I should mention also, he was in the feed business, in the animal feed business, that is. And we started up about 21 years ago, and now we have 500 graduates, just a fabulous program.
And that will be...
Including Kevin Hur, I should say.
Oh.
And that will be Dr. Reggie.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Reggie.
Dr. Reggie, yeah. She's come back to the Valley. Grandmother Jackie, Mother Jody, and she had one of the better athletes at Selinsgrove as a father, who's still around. That would be Rob Reggie. So you might see him up and down a pole for Verizon every now and then.
Just a couple of minutes left here with, or no, a minute, no, geez, seconds. Can you stay a little bit past 9 o'clock?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Sure.
good. We won't keep you too long,
Yep.
but I want to ask you about the economy of the Valley and make sure that we get a clear picture about what's
I
happening.
want to talk a little bit about the Thruway.
All right, CSVT, Economy of the Valley with Bob Garrett, head of the Greater Susquehanna Valley Chamber of Commerce, is now in charge of supervising the fantastic staff that's been just making sure that whole place is booming. You're listening to News Radio 1070 WKOK Sunbury, On the Mark, the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. First day of August, we get to flip the Groninger calendar to the next day. There we go. It's August. Summer's just about shot. You're listening to News Radio 1070 WKOK Sunbury.
CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapani. Not spectacular, but still very good. Economist Mark Hamrick says that's the bottom line on the July jobs report that came out a short time ago.
We saw the number of jobs added to the economy top 200,000 for a sixth straight month. It's been years since we've seen that.
209,000 jobs in all, CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
We've seen a lot of pickup in professional and business services. They added 47,000 jobs in July. Manufacturing adding 28,000 jobs in July. That's a good sign because those are good-paying jobs.
Unemployment was up 0.1 of a point to 6.2%, but a second report on the economy shows the biggest increase in consumer spending in 3 months. The news on the economy seems to be having a soothing effect on Wall Street, where the Dow Industrials fell 317 points yesterday. S&P futures are down 2 points now, but just 2 points ahead of the opening bell. A hospital in Gaza was busier than expected today, taking in wounded survivors after a 3-day ceasefire collapsed 2 hours after it began. CBS News Jerusalem correspondent Robert Berger.
Israeli forces pounded Gaza with artillery after blaming Hamas for a blatant violation of the ceasefire. Gaza officials say at least 50 Palestinians were killed. The army says a Palestinian suicide bomber emerged from a tunnel and blew himself up, killing 2 Israeli soldiers, while an officer is missing and feared kidnapped.
Relief workers in Gaza did what they could during the 2-hour lull in fighting. Osamo Damo is with Save the Children.
They were able to distribute medications and medical disposables, water, and hygiene materials to the children.
Emory University Hospital in Atlanta is setting up an isolation unit to treat at least one of 2 Americans infected with the Ebola virus in West Africa. Live to CBS News correspondent Barry Bagnatto.
Aid workers Dr. Kent Brantley and Nancy Wrightball are fighting to survive infections. To try to boost their immune systems, both have been given antibodies from Ebola survivors. At the National Institutes of Health, infectious diseases expert Dr. Anthony Fauci plans to launch in September a trial of an Ebola vaccine that has worked in monkeys.
The animals who got vaccinated were protected. The animals who did not actually got sick and died.
The Phase 1 trial primarily will test the vaccine's safety in humans. The hope is doses will be available to send to Africa next year. Frank?
The Department of Agriculture hopes changes in poultry plant inspections will cut the number of foodborne illnesses by 5,000 a year. Inspectors will pay more attention to safety than appearance and pull more chickens off the line for examination. Food safety lawyer William Marley sees pluses and minuses.
Get more bacterial testing, but there'll be less inspectors in the plants, and the line speeds will increase.
Increasing the speed, he says, could lead to more injuries. Congressman Eric Cantor, who stepped down yesterday as House Republican leader, says he'll leave Congress a little over 2 weeks from today. A Tea Party Republican upset Cantor in the June primary. This is CBS News.
It's not just an oil change. It's a principle. You take care of what you own. That deserves respect and a good deal. At Advance Auto Parts, get 5 quarts of Pennzoil's new Platinum Full Synthetic Motor Oil with Pure Plus technology and a Fram Ultra oil filter for $33.99. Plus, get a $10 advance gift card by mail so you can get things done the way you want. Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back to the garage.
Mail-in rebate, void where prohibited. See store for details.
All across the U.S., people are hearing this. And once people hear it, they stop what they're doing and break into a dance and head down to their nearest Staples store. Why? Cultural phenomenon? A new trend? A flash mob? Let's slow the track down and play it backwards and see if we get any clues.
Now get notebooks for 17 cents, index cards for 48 cents, and Nobis tablets for $49.
Well, that explains it. Staples. This back to school, make more happen for less. Limit supply to store or staples.com for details.
At African nations, laws against homosexuality have been struck down. CBS's Larry Miller has the story from the Foreign Desk in London.
Uganda's constitutional court overturned harsh anti-gay laws enacted earlier this year, which meant homosexuals of both genders could be given life sentences. The laws also required Ugandans to inform on people they suspected of being gay. Several donors cut aid to Uganda when the law came into force. The court ruled that too few lawmakers voted on the bill, and therefore it was null and void. However, being gay is still outlawed in Uganda, as it is in some other African countries. Larry Miller, CBS News, London.
I'd like to propose a toast.
A toast would be in order. The late soprano star James Gandolfini is among a dozen sons and daughters of the Garden State who've been voted into the New Jersey Hall of Fame. Other members of the class of 2014 include jazz great Dizzy Gillespie, the Shirelles, former Governor James Florio, and basketball star Patrick Ewing. Frank Sedapani, CBS News.
You've been thinking about moving over to solar power for your home. So are a lot of other people, which is why some power companies are pushing for extra fees to make up the difference. Is it finally happening? Is solar power actually becoming a threat to the old power conglomerates? Don't fund big power's losses while everybody else goes solar. Get caught in the middle, or go with a trusted local solar company and actually own it, and reduce your energy bill with no down payment, interest, or payments for a whole year. Get tax breaks and big monthly energy savings. Avoid falling behind and paying extra. Don't be the last one in line. Our nation's power supplies are shifting. Wait too long and you may wind up paying for it. Want to completely eliminate your power bill? Get all the tax incentives you're entitled to while you still can. And do it locally, because local is accountable and we finance. Call 1-800-MY-SOLAR for a free in-home assessment. 1-800-MY-SOLAR.
My home, my savings. 1-800-MY-SOLAR.
News Radio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Ben Reichley.
Greetings and welcome on board the WKOK live telephone talk show On the Mark. I am Mark Lawrence, host of the show. We're very glad to say that you have joined us. Our webcam is up and running. Our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company. Groninger Insurance sponsors our toll-free line. We'll be talking more about all of these sponsors in the hours ahead, so do stick around for that. Let It Be Solar and Sunbury Motor Company. But we got a guest. We're going to try to make some real good use of a short amount of time. Bob Garrett is here, head of the Greater Susquehanna Valley Chamber of Commerce. The Valley's economy, how are we doing in this local area?
I think a couple of measurements would be the unemployment rate, and we'll be studying those. And certainly they're moving the direction we want. In fact, I believe, am I correct, that last month Montour was the lowest in the state?
As it should be at all times.
Right. And Union County was right behind. Snyder County's right there. And usually Northumberland's a bit of a laggard, but it's getting where it needs to be. What we really have to start focusing on, though, Mark, is creating that economic development buzz, letting folks know that we're open for business, we have a story to tell and a land to sell, and we have a great workforce here, and start to fill up some of those empty buildings we have around, particularly the main streets of our downtowns, and really get all of our downtowns thriving again.
All right, and let's see, something that you talked about helping would be the CSVT. What's the impact going to be? Sort of explain how that's going to help.
Well, if you look at a map of Pennsylvania, what you'll notice is there's only 7 counties in all of the 67 counties in Pennsylvania that are not accessed and serviced by an interstate highway. One of those happens to be Snyder County. When I talk about the Central Susquehanna Valley Thruway, I talk about it as an interstate look-alike highway. I think we all know that interstate highways have either have 2 digits. If they're end in an even number, they go east and west. If they end with an odd number, they go north and south. If they have 3 digits, it means they either go around a city or connect an interstate to a city. So, for example, Interstate 80 goes across Pennsylvania. Interstate 180 connects I-80 to downtown Williamsport. Well, what I like to talk about is imagine Interstate 180 South that will connect the Greater Susquehanna Valley, Selinsgrove specifically, to an interstate highway. And think of what that will do for our valley, is to now have an interstate highway easy in, easy out. And one of the things that we have set up, actually through the leadership of Joe McGranahan, we've set up something called the Central Susquehanna Valley Thruway Task Force. And that task force is being headed up by Bruce Smith from the Milton Chamber and myself from the Greater Susquehanna Valley Chamber. And what we're going to be putting together, Mark, is something we're calling the Economic Opportunity Academy. And what we want to try to do is bring the municipal officials, the advocates and the interested parties, hopefully the media, and any other person that might be interested, and bring their level of knowledge of what this kind of highway can do for our valley, not only in the construction money that'll be spent, which is nearly $750 million, but then the multiplier effect that'll come after the road is in place.
All right, so we're going to be monitoring that. What else should we keep our eye on in the years ahead that'll help our economy?
Well, I think look for us to be working very closely with our industrial development groups in the valley. Of course, at the Greater Susquehanna Valley Chamber of Commerce, we're connected with SIDCO, the Susquehanna Industrial Development Corporation. Milton is connected with the Milton Industrial Development Corporation. Union County has Great Streams Common and the Union County Industrial Development Corporation. We'll be working on that, but even more importantly, I think, is that retention and expansion, keeping businesses here and expanding them, and finding ways to fill the Market Street in Sunbury. There are a lot of open storefronts there. We'd like to get those reestablished, as well as the other downtowns. You think of Milton, Lewisburg, Selinsgrove, and then some of the villages in the more rural areas.
Come and visit us regularly, will you, please?
You can count on it. I'll try to get here the first Friday of every month.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good way to take care of it. And that would be today, August 1st. Thank you so much, Robert Garrett, head of the Greater Susquehanna Valley Chamber of Commerce. much. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll flip into open phones. But we would invite you to call us at any time. 1-800-795-9565 is the number that we know as the Groninger Insurance toll-free line. The Lenape Solar email in basket will be populated by your note if and only if you send it to OnTheMark@WKOK.com. And our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Here's something to think about. How do you know if your insurance is the right price? Have you ever had your insurance reviewed? Do you remember when it was reviewed? And are you getting all the discounts you deserve? Let Groninger Insurance Agency give you a free, no-obligation second opinion on your auto, home, or business insurance. Give the Groninger Insurance Agency a call today at 570-473-8107. They're proud to represent the Erie Insurance Group. It's true, if you're not insured by Groninger Insurance, you're probably paying too much.
Where will you learn about the latest innovations in the agriculture industry? What has nearly 500 exhibitors, agricultural demonstrations, workshops, and guided tours? Where can you enjoy lots of great food, activities for the kids, and summer fun for the whole family? Penn State's Ag Progress Days, August 12th through the 14th on Route 45 near State College, PA. Parking and admission are free. Penn State's Ag Progress Days. Find out more at apd.psu.edu.
So, I'm a dog, and I just got adopted by this new human guy, and I'm starting to wonder how he got along without me. I mean, okay, something as simple as walking around the block. He's got this leash thing, and he puts me on one end and him on the other, and I'm just taking him around. I think he's afraid of getting lost. Without that leash and me guiding him along, I don't think he'd find his way back home. But it's kind of cute.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Here are some sobering statistics from a national insurance company. 82% of teens use cell phones while driving. 48% of girls are likely to speed 10 miles per hour over the limit versus boys 36%. And 76% of teens say they feel unsafe while another teen drives. Let's empower teens to promote smart driving. Tell them to take action if someone's been drinking, is speeding, or using their phone.
This message brought to you by the stations of Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation, including News Radio 1070 WKOK and Sealands Grove Ford, proud supporters of Susquehanna Smart Drive.
This is disco music, baby. Groninger Insurance, located at Front and Duke Streets, Northumberland, the sponsor of our toll-free line, which is now open for the next hour, 1-800-795-9565. That's 1-800-795-9565. We invite you to check that out at WKOK. Groningerinsurance.com is their main website. On the Mark brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company. If you're interested in buying a used or new automobile, start out at sunburymotors.com. That way you can check out their online specials, vehicles that have a special price only online, and they have hundreds of used and new cars that are available. You could also just build a new Ford to your precise specifications. You're technically at that point ordering it from Ford, and Sunbury Motor Company will be the conduit. They'll keep $1 of the invoice price and give the rest to you and a good deal on the vehicle. sunburymotors.com, the place to do that. And the Lenape Solar email in basket is open. You email on the mark at WKOK.com. We'll read your email on the radio. We'd love to hear from you emailically today. We have 2 emails pending from the third smartest woman in the world. One is for Ben. The other one is for Kevin. And then we'll ask those emails on the radio. That is coming up. We do have some very brief news headlines. Tragic accident yesterday in Montana. We first told you during the day that a woman was hit Thursday in Montana. She died. 62-year-old Charlene Moist was crossing Route 45 near 4th Street while walking her dog when she was hit and killed in Montana. PPL wants to spend billions of dollars to build a 725-mile system of electric transmission lines that will bring energy from the booming Marcellus Shale natural gas fields to customers on the heavily populated eastern seaboard. The Allentown-based utility said Thursday the 500-kilovolt line would span Pennsylvania and reach New York, New Jersey, and Maryland. Estimated costs more than $4 billion. A Pennsylvania state lawmaker yesterday said it is an important victory that parks and forest officials will accept public comments on terms of agreement to allow two natural gas exploration companies to drill in the Loyalsock State Forest. Still, Representative Rick Marabito says he wished the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources had agreed to accept comment for 30 days rather than just 15. Agency officials say there's no deadline to come to terms. They say the state doesn't own the subsurface rights on a 25,000-acre known as the Clarence Moore lands and cannot prevent Texas-based Anadarko from drilling there. Officials say they hope to minimize the environmental damage. And a Pennsylvania state senator who is charging a nearly $5,000 trip to taxpayers to see how Colorado is dealing with pot legalization says it is now home to a high-tech, high-paid industry and isn't a state full of stoners. Senator Dalen Leach of Montgomery County traveled to Colorado, said he did not actually sample the marijuana, but is charging taxpayers $5,000 in the travel and lodging expenses for he and his staff. He wrote an editorial this week saying the $5,000 is worth it to hit the state because his 3-day trip was a learning experience for he and his 3 aides. Leach is perhaps the state legislature's foremost proponent of legalizing marijuana. Senator Mike Fulmer of Lebanon County traveled to Colorado on a 3-day trip with staff aides 2 months ago as well. A spokesman says they paid their own way in that particular case. Fulmer supports a narrower legalization of marijuana extract for medical purposes. A bill co-sponsored by Leach and Fulmer awaits a Senate vote. House GOP leaders and Governor Tom Corbett oppose it. Those are the news headlines. So pot back in the news, $5,000 stuck to the taxpayers so that this guy could go see that selling drugs for money actually can turn a profit and turn into an industry. Duh.
Let's say 500. Well, yeah, and the jury's still out on Colorado, and Washington now has tried to implement the legalization. So time will tell, and it's way too early, but they are.
What are the two possible outcomes, or something in between? If the jury's out, I mean.
Well, you're going to get the information in, but right now they are having a number of problems out there with, first start off with the banking. Basically, it's against federal policy. So with all this cash, they didn't know how they were going to handle that. But the social aspect's going to take years to look at. But for doing business in Colorado and being out there, he says it's a high-tech area. Well, to a degree it is, but also too, we'll see the social aspect, aspect of these laws and see what happens. It's certainly going to change Colorado, and we'll see how positive it could be, and Washington. And again, it's tough when your economic development, and we were just talking to Bob Garrett of the Chamber of Commerce, but when you look at your economic development and it's based on vices, which we look at the gambling industry, we look at the legalization of drugs, for economic development or to create revenue, and at some point you have to say, are we moving forward, or are we just trying to put enough fingers in the hole to stop the debt rising costs, all the things that have been associated with our communities.
Right, 1-800-795-9565. One of our listeners, I guess maybe Bob Garrett mischaracterized the direction of Interstate 180. He says 180 runs, and the letter writer Joe says 180 runs east and west, not north and south. Isn't it more about like a diagonal or a curve, I guess?
It runs north and south and then goes east and west when it comes into Williamsport.
I like the one spot.
But it's a spur.
you can go on the section of the Beltway in Williamsport where at the same time you're traveling east, north, and west, all at the same time.
Yep,
or you can go the other way.
And very confusing signs at the intersection of 87 and 180 in Montoursville. If you're coming to get on to 180, I believe you're going south, but then you're going west on 220 at the same time. Very confusing if you look at it. But you know, one thing about the thruway bypass is that it will be a north-south connector. It will connect New York to Maryland, and it will run through the center of the state, and certainly be far more beneficial economically, safety factor, than not having it.
All right, 1-800-795-9565, talking transportation here. Yesterday we had a great conversation about nonprofit organizations. I had advocated that or that we tax nonprofit organizations. Somehow we morphed into talking about Walmart, so I once again expressed that I prefer not to shop there. And other folks some other folks certainly added that they think we should shop there, or that, you know, support the local economy, and meaning the women and the men who work there in our area. And if we think of things in a global fashion, I certainly appreciate the argument. You know, what's the difference, as Joe said, if you're supporting Bentonville, Arkansas, or you're supporting a local business in downtown around here? They're both people, so what's wrong with supporting them?
Walmart's the #1 employee in Pennsylvania.
Employer, you mean?
An employer in Pennsylvania,
right,
on the private side. And it's certainly a success story, and the people who want to bring, I mean, they've been diced and sliced and looked at in a number of ways, but they found a way to do it more efficiently. They found a way to upgrade, and Walmart standards have been incorporated in businesses all over the world. Their logistic and supply chain management, the understanding of their local markets. They've skinned their knees and noses and elbows in going into some different cultures around the world. But they are a rurally based firm, meaning that look at Bentonville, Arkansas, look at Rogers, Arkansas, and they're right together. But look at the growth of Walmart, and they've stayed pretty true to the core. But they have revolutionized certain aspects of business that a lot of other companies have incorporated, and particularly their supply chain logistic management.
1-800-795-9565 is our telephone number if you'd like to weigh in on this topic. The question of Walmart popped up yesterday. One of our listeners at that time sent us this note. I'll recap the first paragraph so Ben can respond to it. It says, I'd like to answer some of the questions about whether or not I shop at a certain big box store. No, I've not shopped there in 10 years. I'll never go there again. I reject their business model, which pressures vendors into offshoring manufacturing jobs and pressures them to lower the quality of their products in order to cut their price. The book Walmart Effect by Fishman was an eye-opener for me. I don't eat fish at fast food restaurants on those rare... I don't eat there at all. I'm sorry, I'm blending my lines here. I don't eat at fast food restaurants on those rare occasions. When we eat out, we use diners or locally owned restaurants. By the way, also buy American products whenever possible.
Well, I mean,
Cindy,
that's certainly an opinion, but looking at that and say they pressure vendors. No, if you're a vendor, and it's not Walmart, it's other organizations. If you're a vendor, you have to perform. If your business depends, Mark, you have a business, and you have to depend on me to have a product there that you put on your shelves or you use as your service, I need to be there. You go down on 78 and 61 to Cabela's, you see the trucks lined up there. If you're delivering to Cabela's, you have a time slot you hit. If you don't hit it, you don't get in. So, one of the things, we say putting pressure on vendors, here's the situation is if you're a vendor to certain companies, you have a performance criteria and you have to meet that. Now, putting pressure on vendors doesn't mean they make the company work 26 hours a day or unreasonable. So, you have certain criteria to hit, and maybe a lot of people aren't understanding, and you talk to people who work at the Wises and look at the logistics, and you talk to people who work at businesses that are moving freight or doing certain parts that are very important into the overall equation of a business, you'll find out, that you have to perform, and your analysis and the metrics to make those performances, you have to incorporate into your business. And I will say this, Walmart and companies like Walmart have made more businesses better because they've been able to then look and see how they're doing it, or they've taken vendors and making them more efficient. Walmart has programs that they'll come to you, Mark, you're producing widgets. And you might not just be selling to Walmart, you're selling to Target, you're selling to Kmart, you're selling all over. And they will come in and they'll say, hey, Mark, here's some suggestions on how you can be more efficient for us. Now, that's going to make you more efficient for your other companies too. So, in the world of business, a lot of folks see the peripheral and they see the surface, but you get down into it and really see how businesses run. Boy, I tell you, companies like Walmart have changed the way the business is done and has made things far more efficient. They've found ways to do it better, and it's not just by pinching their vendors. It's by efficiencies and again looking at new technologies and new ways. But like I said, there's far more to the picture than just walking in or out of the store.
1-800-795-9565. During our conversation, one of our listeners, exasperated, says the subject is Walmart again. And then, yeah, we did talk about this yesterday, and she sends me a note, says, I don't care where you shop, but you should stop slamming a place with untrue statements, especially when you don't know what you're talking about, Mark. You actually have no factual knowledge about Walmart other than the rumors you've heard, and that's not fair. After all, people who listen to this radio program respect you and believe the stuff that comes out of your mouth. With that in mind, make sure you're telling it like it is and not your opinion. Well, first of all this is my opinion, but it's all fact-based. I say that they disfavor women in hiring. That's based on what have been significantly large civil suits. Check your facts, young lady, because these are real lawsuits. So that's not just my opinion. And the Walmart Effect is a real book. I didn't make that up. It's not my opinion. It's an actual book that lists a prolonged series of effects that Cindy outlined nicely in one of her remarks. Secondly, the environmental issues that are related to big box stores, that's all factual stuff. You can just Google Walmart excessive runoff and you'll find out about the environmental impacts of all big box stores and not just Walmart. And the fact that the minimum wage employees, many of them are on have to enjoy welfare and other methods of supplementing their income because they don't earn enough. All 100% fact. Now, you can have your opinion about that, but the things that I'm talking about are factual. All you have to do is expand your mind, lady, and you'll find out what I'm talking about. Well, you had your diatribe. Let's get Dan's view. Go ahead, Dan.
Good morning, Mark and Ben. Why, I had called late Wednesday on non-profit and profit, and yeah, I said that the reason non-profit was set up originally was to help the greater good of mankind. And you had said, well, what would make WKOK then is a lot for the greater good of mankind. And I agree, but their main object is profit motive. And I thought, of another radio station right above you in Danville. They are non-profit, and their main goal isn't profit. And that's what I was trying to say made the difference between profit and non-profit. They may not make any profit, just barely enough to keep going. But your radio station can only exist because of profit.
Okay.
And that was my point. What do you think?
Oh, well, I understand what you're saying. I know the radio station in NOAA. We're certainly familiar with them. We're in some sense an ally with them in terms of news gathering and dissemination. So we're familiar with them. I don't know that they are exempt from property taxes, though. and the way they behave is very, very similar. They are exempt from property taxes on their land. Okay, so yeah, there you go. Kevin, or I'm sorry, Ben does know that. Okay, and that makes perfect sense. But
there's not all taxes.
But property taxes on their facility,
employees are paying taxes, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, their employees would have to pay income tax in that way, the same as any other employee. So they are paying taxes in that respect.
But in what way are they different than WKOK?
Well, all their contributions all their money income is given by people that send money in. They rely 100% on contributions from listeners.
I got you. Okay.
The listeners keep it going, in other words, and
not underwriters like a what do we call it? NPR, National Public Radio Station, or something like that.
Right.
Those are
that's how they're different than like a public PBS.
All right, we got you.
Yeah, and that's what I was making the point, and I realize that your radio station does a lot of good things, and I appreciate it, but it isn't the main motive for it being there is to make money, which isn't nothing wrong with that. It's a good thing, but their motive is mostly for the greater good of mankind.
All right, we got you. Thank you, Dean. Very much appreciated.
Yep.
We'll continue this conversation in a moment. We'll take another quick break. When we come back, Ben has his remarks about my remarks, but we'd love your remarks first. 1-800-795-9565 is the Groninger Insurance toll-free line. Feel free to give us a buzz. 1-800-795-9565 is the telephone number. You can email us at onthemark@wkok.com. We'll read your email on the radio, and we will be right back.
Come on home to convenience. Come on over with style. Come on home to real savings. Service with the real smile.
Hey, why search the newspaper classifieds when the best yard sales are at Kohl's Hardware?
Come on home to Kohl's annual yard sale event for the best prices of the year on seasonal merchandise, overstock items, and closeout products.
Show up early for bargain prices on grills, patio furniture, solar lights, pool toys, lawn and garden merchandise, and more.
Smart yard sale shoppers know that each yard sale is unique, so be sure to shop all 11 Kohl's Hardware locations.
And be sure to shop Kohl's yard sale event often, since the prices keep going down.
Now is the perfect time to buy hand and power tools, fountains, hose carts, statuary, paint, automotive goods, houseware items, and more.
Look for the big white tents at all 11 Kohl's Hardware stores and shop the yard sale. We're right around the corner, right here in your hometown. Come on home to Kohl's.
Come on home to Kohl's. Kohl's Hardware. Come on home to Kohl's.
Right now, 94.1 WQKX is broadcasting the annual Cares for Kids Radiothon to raise money for the kids at Janet Wise Children's Hospital.
We've gone through infertility for about 6 years, so I had this sense of being connected to every other mother in history. You know, it was this really neat feeling that I'd never had before, and it's the only time you have more than one heart beating in your body. And so I was 10 days late, and finally the doctor said, you know, you have advanced maternal age, we have to get her out. You know, this is really important, we're going to give you this drug, and it's going to bring on labor. So I went in, and all of a sudden there was a lot of blood.
It seemed like within about 30 seconds there were about 7 or 8 doctors and nurses in the room and getting her ready, and then just racing down the hallway with her to do an emergency cesarean section.
To make your donation, call 1-800-799-5437. That's 1-800-799-KIDS. Zimmerman's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Truck is a proud supporter of the 94KX Cares for Kids Radiothon.
Come to the races at Port Royal Speedway this Saturday night. It's the Living Legends Dream Race for 410 Sprint Cars, honoring legends Lance DeWeese and Maynard Booth. See the Sprint Cars race in 4 main events, including a 35-lap feature worth $10,000 to win. A total of over $50,000 is up for grabs by the Sprint Cars. Don't miss it at Port Royal Speedway this Saturday night. Gates open at 4 for autographs, and racing starts at 7. And don't miss Twin 25s for sprints on August 23rd. Port Royal Speedway, just off Route 322 along Route 75 in Port Royal. Visit PortRoyalSpeedway.com.
Hi, everybody. Steve Jones of the appropriately named Steve Jones Show. Very clever. Don't forget, coming up today, we're going to have Tony DeFazio of the Pittsburgh Sports Report. That's 3 to 5, News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Welcome back to WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. We invite you to call in. Very appropriate bumper music. Thank you so much, Kevin Herr, selector of the ideal bumper music. He's the greatest engineer the world has ever known. So very much appreciated. Thank you, sir. Ben Reichley's across from me, our ultra-conservative co-host, but always willing to listen to new viewpoints and to hear all sides of important topics. We invite emailers or callers, no matter what scale they are among the smartest women or men in the world. We would love to hear from you. That falls in the Lenape Solar email in basket on the market at WKOK.com, the address. Groninger Insurance toll-free line, 1-800-795-9565. The webcam is up and running. It looks to be running flawlessly. Kevin's doing the switching and the producing and adjusting the lights and sound and camera angles and making sure that it's all perfect and popping up the sponsors' names at the appropriate time. So do check out the webcam. Topic at hand right at the moment. We're probably not going to stay too long on this, but we brought up Walmart again just in terms of a recap, and it looks like we're going to wrap up that conversation. I said that Walmart pays its employees too little, many of whom end up on welfare or needing some supplement, some of which comes from the government. So in a way, government doesn't force, but makes it much closer to ideal for those families if they take advantage of some benefits. And Ben said not so, and so
no,
I'll let him continue.
That's been thrown out there for so long, and it's been disproven. If you have workers that are, look at the percentage of people who are minimum wage. What's the percentage of minimum wage workers at Walmart?
I don't know.
Okay, so, but if you're a minimum wage worker at Joe's Tire Shop, you can go get subsidies from the government if you do that. Walmart, you're saying Walmart hires people at minimum wage and then supplements them with government, and that's been out there against corporations for years. Walmart has a pretty low percentage of minimum wage workers, but
it's just a big number because they're a big company, right?
But they're the largest retailer in the world, and they employ more than 1.2 million people. You know, the part about the runoff on big box stores, that is BS. And there's the reason is that is local codes in that. So you're saying every big box store has runoff, and the codes are not there. You look at the Walmart expansion and look at the detail stormwater system they put in under the parking lot. So those are codes, and those are the changing of stormwater management within not only our world here, our region, but around the country.
So you're saying it's perfectly legal what they do?
What are you saying is illegal? Are you saying that
I didn't say anything's illegal.
No,
you said that.
You did. You did. Yes, you did. Hold it. You said look at the runoff of box stores. Those are local building codes, and that. So you're saying Walmart goes and builds stores so they have runoff?
I'm saying that the growth of our built-out community has contributed to the issues that we have
but you were talking
in
about
the Chesapeake Bay. Well, Walmart and all big box stores and all big parking lots and all big shopping centers.
The stormwater management systems.
Right. No, I understand. I didn't say it's illegal. I didn't say it's illegal.
So if something was built 20 years ago and the rules have changed, and now you're saying, hold it, this store was here and look what they're doing. Well, when they built it, the laws and the rules and the codes weren't there. But the minimum wage part about Walmart gets pushed out there, and it's not there. And it's funny because
what is the percentage of minimum wage workers?
I will pull that up, but it is very low. And even down here at this store, it's very low. So when you guys want to throw that out against
Walmart, lower than
their volume and
other businesses.
But you minimum wage, and maybe people are somewhat confused on minimum wage to a degree. Minimum wage is an entry level. Now, it can be two things. It can be an age-wise entry level and a skill-wise, and both. So if you're 30 years old and your skills are at entry level, you're probably going to be around minimum wage. But how many times is minimum wage really being paid? And it gets thrown out there. Minimum wage. You look in any business around here, stock pickers for Wise's in their warehouse, it's above minimum wage. And to compete and to have those skills, you're going to have to pay more than that because people are going to have skills. So, the minimum wage flag, it doesn't work.
Doesn't fly. Okay, 1-800-795-9565. Set me straight. I invite you to do so. Ben's doing a good effort, and we'd invite others to join in, and so was our good emailer who sent us a note.
But you guys define big box stores. Are you defining the malls? Are you defining the strip malls? Are you defining just the stores?
Yeah, okay. Let's get into that since you like the runoff topic. I
don't
think
not
it's
the
illegal.
runoff topic. I know the runoff topic, but when you say big box stores, when you're saying a store comes in and is more efficient, and another store goes out of business. Now, it's that business's fault. No, they're not doing predatory marketing and sales, but that's a business that's more... You start a business and you're doing shoe repair, and I'm doing shoe repair, and you come in and you can get it done faster. You have a new machine. You're able to do this. I go out of business. Well, is that your fault? No, that's my fault. I didn't adapt. I didn't do something. That is the market, and that's going to demand, and that's why a company like a Walmart that's innovative and comes in. Now, if you got companies that are doing things illegal, that's different. But you think of the old hardware stores downtown that used to walk through the aisles and there used to be boxes piled up and you couldn't find anything. And the inventory sat there for sometimes decades, not just years. And then you have a company, a building supply company like a Home Depot or Lowe's that comes in and is more efficient and is able to bring in inventory and move those just because they're in a big box store. Now, if you want to get into building codes and stuff like that, that's a little bit different.
Well, yeah, we really are talking two things. One is what Joe very, very aptly said yesterday are the morals of business, is that supporting U.S. businesses and supporting U.S. workers is a moral decision that companies have to make. If you decide to go overseas, your morality helps to inform that decision. Yes, you get products cheaper, but there's a moral code that you lower, or a moral standard that you decide when you want to use lower, more children's labor or more lower paid labor overseas versus what you would have to pay in the U.S. if you were going to try to compete in that level. So yeah, that's why I base my comments related to the minimum wage and what I call unfair competition. It's based on a moral standard that for me is much higher, but for you is much lower. It's you think overseas competition is okay versus the local businesses, and I do not. I favor local businesses, and I utilize local businesses, and I disfavor big box stores whenever possible. So that's the worker aspect of this.
But they're using local labor. Walmart
right, they are using there are local employees. No argument there.
I mean, moral standards. What moral standards are you talking about?
I'm talking about the fact that if you support a company that pays people, I think we're probably getting away from slave labor and people who are captive in companies. I mean, you look at some of the building collapses in Indonesia, and where workers are truly not enslaved, that would be precisely the right word, but where unfair working conditions or very, very far from ideal working conditions are utilized. Doors are locked from the inside. Okay, that would be one example. If you use a company that uses those suppliers, I think that's immoral for us to use them as a supplier. And I'm not even saying Walmart necessarily is, the customer of that particular example, this factory that collapsed a couple of years ago. I do not know that to be true.
In Bangladesh.
Right.
Okay.
But whoever is buying those products, I think, made a moral decision that utilizing workers who are captive and forced in sweatshop conditions and are underpaid and work very, very, very long hours by requirement, I think you're making a moral decision when you do that. Not just, oh my gosh, this shirt is cheaper. It's not just an economic decision. I think you make a decision that overutilizing labor and disrespecting other workers is something you're willing to do.
I think there's a huge conclusion that you jump to when you're saying that just because this shirt came from Malaysia, came from Vietnam, or this product came from there.
I didn't say that.
Well, that's what you're saying.
No, I'm using if the shirt that you're using came from those kinds of factories.
But how do you know those kind of factories?
Because one just collapsed and it was exposed that they exist.
What products came from there?
At the time I knew that, and I do believe T-shirts stuck in my head or dresses. I forget.
Was it Gildan T-shirt, Hanes T-shirt?
Yeah, all of this was kind of out at the time, and I do not remember. And I also would like to say, since we're having a Walmart conversation, I don't remember that Walmart was the marketer of those shirts. It seemed to me it was, like a hip mall type oriented store, as I recall. And boy, this is vague. Maybe one of our listeners can help us out. The Bangladeshi collapse of us, it killed hundreds of these women women who work there.
A lot of those factories,
who were the customers,
are creating fabric. Then that fabric goes somewhere else to be made. So you have to follow. I mean, you're jumping to a conclusion where you say just because something's made in India or Malaysia that this is, sweatshops.
Okay, well, that's
and
unintentional. Yeah, that's unintentional.
But so you have to look at the supply chain of information, and also look at what the U.S. government, the Canadian government have done, in parts of Western Europe have done to promote economics in certain areas. Look at what they've done in Africa to promote the economics, fabric making, and then the fabric's made there, and then it's shipped somewhere else to be put into that. And how many times does it lift an economy up? Now, if you have governments, if you have owners of factories that are, unscrupulous, then that's something you can decide on a moral value. But on the other hand, too, how do you know $5 a week isn't the equivalent to $40,000 a year? $5 a week over at $40,000 a year here.
All right, and how do you know that locking workers inside a factory without air conditioning is not just one person's way to cut down on a too cold breeze that's going through the building?
Well,
how do you know that?
I mean, now you're trying to push that. That's a little bit of ridiculous side. So if you want to discuss this, let's discuss it. If you want to look at what you're going to do in countries and you're going to dictate to countries how they want to do business, then you can boycott, you can do all the things you want. But understanding the economics and understanding what's going on in those countries, I think it's a lot of times it's more misrepresented and jumping to conclusions. Just like when you talk about the runoff. The runoff situation here is very unique, particularly in our Chesapeake Bay region. Again, when you talk about minimum wage, what's the percentage of workers at minimum wage in retail stores? And also, too, what are the opportunities that a company like a Walmart, Target, Wises have given people?
All right, last word on this before we take our last break of the day. We got to change. This topic is a non-starter, as they say. So Kevin's shaking his head yes. It says, thank you, Ben, for setting Mark straight, exclamation point. Yesterday he said women were not getting promoted at Walmart. I blew my cool because I know several times I've asked to talk to a supervisor or a manager, and many times a woman came to my aid. She introduced herself as a manager. I spoke one time to her about the lack of merchandise from Furman's. I explained the wonderful tomato products Furman's carry and have in Giant or Wises like spaghetti sauce. She was gracious to me, and guess what? There are now cans of our local Furman's on their shelf. I think Mark needs to take a trip to our Walmart, whether he wants to or not. Take a look once with an open mind at every inch of the store. It's clean. The food items are displayed well. All the help seems helpful and happy, and you will find lots of people in there shopping. The people around here who pick on the big box stores are just grumbling because they cannot meet the prices. It's a shame. The fact is true, but it just sounds like sour grapes, says our listener.
The point about that, though, is
I want to say something. I want to answer that, though. I've been in the Walmart on routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, or maybe it was the one in Lewisburg. And either one, what this lady says is 100% true. The store is immaculately clean, and I don't think there's really anything wrong with the store as a shopper. I don't think there's anything wrong with you getting a job there, and I'm glad that locally they have women. The fact of the matter is that nationally, women have been disfavored by Walmart in the past. Now maybe they've corrected that, and if they are, good for that. And I think hiring more women has been a way for companies to underpay managers for a long time. So I would assume that the Walmart is also doing that, and to their credit. So that's good for the women to get those jobs. Now they don't get as paid as much as men, but they definitely
get. So
you're
saying they're hiring women because they can hire women
at lower rates. Yeah, this has been a trick of companies in the past. I do not know if Walmart is doing that right now or at Hummel's Wharf or Lewisburg, but in the past companies have done that. You hear, I mean, even who was it? In the book Lean In, the woman says one of the things that her mother said when she was hired is that we're glad that we can get you on board as a manager because we won't have to pay you as much as a man. You get the same smarts and you don't have to pay as much. So that's a book she wrote, and she's 30-something, so her mother was You know, this was 30 years ago. So has that trend changed? I hope so.
Well, I mean, I've never been in an organization that really looked gender first. You look at the skill base and you look at the job description, and that person can be. Right now in the state of Pennsylvania, you have the federal government, Department of Justice, looking to sue Pennsylvania in reference to the State Police Academy and the physical attributes or the testing that needs to go in. Now, is the testing wrong or the criteria of the testing wrong? You can look at that part.
Or are there women out of shape who are applying?
But on the other hand, though, if there is a job and it takes this skill level and this, you have to be physically at this level to do it, well, the job's not going to change because people can't meet the physical expectations. Now, maybe it takes 2 people to do that job instead of 1. But on the other hand, if you start trying to put gender in and be politically correct and look at this stuff, the job then probably won't get done. I mean, if your house is on fire, Mark, you're on the 2nd floor, and somebody has to come in and haul you out of there and down a ladder, are you really concerned if it's a male or female?
As long as they can do the job.
As long as they can do the job.
Right, yeah, we talked about this yesterday. But this is the same deal here, though. My observation, and maybe I didn't qualify it sufficiently, was that in the past, and the example I used was 30 years ago as my estimate, in the past, companies would hire women, pay them less because they knew they would work for less. Now, do women make as much as men in the workplace today? I think so. I mean, the women that work here must be paid as much as the guys because they're willing to do it, and they certainly would let the front office know if they felt as they were being underpaid.
How many jobs are the same? How many jobs are exactly
Well,
the
there
same?
aren't 2 identical jobs in this company, but there are. You can go to other companies where there are identical jobs, and today, again, I'm telling you that this is an old trend, and I'm hoping it's fixed. Maybe I'm not making myself clear. Ben gets kudos from one of our listeners who said, Robert says, Ben said Walmart is a success. It depends how you define success. If success is making billions of dollars for 6 people named Walton, then I guess they are a success. However, that success for 6 billionaires comes at the expense of American taxpayers who pay for Medicaid and food stamps for Walmart employees, who pay in lost revenue from tax breaks for Walmart and the lost revenue from manufacturing taken to China. Imagine if every company from Sunbury Broadcasting to LB Water adopted the Walmart model. Almost all employees would be part-time, making less than $10 an hour. You would get your schedule for the next week on Thursday, and you would have to be on call if they need you to come in. And then every 3 to 5 years, you threaten to move to a nearby township unless you get new tax breaks. I choose not to support a corporation who has little regard for its employees and neighbors, says Robert.
And Robert, I'm sorry that you feel that way because you're misguided here in some of your facts here. I'd say the success is 1.2 million people working worldwide. Sorry for your email to be that negative on things, but that's
He's
simply,
so human oriented. You hate that, don't you?
No, Mark, I hate that when people aren't somewhat factual or take the facts and put it into opinions that aren't really orchestrated. Or it's an orchestrated effort to downgrade a company. You can define success your own way, but talk to the young lady down at Walmart who started working there part-time. And I believe now Walmart had helped her go through college, and she is a regional manager of 4 or 5 stores. So again, some folks are going to look at success and profit as a negative thing, and without success and profit and ingenuity, we wouldn't have the country we have today.
1-800-795-9565. It looks like we've exhausted this topic beyond recognition.
And the BS about the stuff about here we go, Mark, because you jumped on it too about the minimum wage deal.
So if somebody disagrees with you, it's BS. But if you say
Mark,
it's true.
I'm saying no, Mark. I say you throw stuff out here, and you throw it out without the information behind it. Now I'm saying if there's somebody at Walmart who is working minimum wage and they qualify for government, they could be working at Joe's Tire Shop, at a pizzeria. So it's not the company, it's the system. And you've portrayed here that Walmart is a company that tries to milk the system, and that they go out and they hire people on minimum wage, and then just like the email here, so then the government can subsidize their existence. And that story's been out there for so long. And it's simply not correct. Now, Are there people at Walmart that might be working for minimum wage that are getting other subsidies? Sure, but those other people can be working at other companies too.
1-800-795-9565. We still haven't gotten the answer what of that Bangladesh factory that collapsed. And really, it was a huge building that collapsed that had a lot of other things in it.
Well,
other than
Kathy Lee Gifford brought this out, years ago when she was supporting a line of clothes. And
well, it couldn't have been that long because it was probably only 2 years ago.
But it was sweatshops like 20 or 25 years ago that she realized that these things were, where they were being made. So that I remember that story started this whole, awareness factor of where are your products being made and how are they being made.
We're going to take a quick break. We will return. Our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
This is Tanya Diddy. If you've been wondering how you can save money and the environment for the future, then all you have to do is look to the sun. Let Lenape Solar enlighten you. Lenape Solar installs residential and commercial solar systems, each custom designed to meet your individual needs, and we're committed to buy American products. Making an investment in a solar system today is much more affordable than it was 2 to 3 years ago. The payback is much quicker. You can trust the experts at Lenape Solar to help enlighten you to a brighter tomorrow, because we're committed to you and to our community. Call us at 286-1496 and start saving today.
The store is open. Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation brings you half-price Susquehanna Valley, where you can buy a certificate for half the cost of its value. Our store never closes. Take advantage of great deals from some of the Valley's best businesses, such as restaurants and salons. You can also save on jewelry, trips, hotel accommodations, plus kitchen items, accessories for your smartphone, and so much more. But hurry, get them before they're gone. Get shopping and save this week at Half Price Susquehanna Valley, only from WKOK.com. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to work at a radio station? If so, Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation wants you as an intern. You'll learn the ins and outs of radio, from on-air and production to sales and promotion. News Radio 1070 WKOK is seeking news interns to help write stories plus cover meetings and events. WKOK is also seeking sports interns to run the boards during high school and college football, basketball, and wrestling. If you're interested in working in the world of radio, go to WKOK.com to apply.
Welcome back to WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. Thank you, Ben, for coming in. We'll see you Monday.
See you Monday. Have a good weekend.
We have an open phones day coming up on Monday. We'd love to see everybody ready on the radio, and we'll be talking about, we may have a surprise guest Monday, so we'll let you know how that works out. And it'll be somebody who is a good ally to On the Mark. So that's possible. Kevin, thank you so much. Thanks for working. Oh, wait. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Yeah, see, it is irritating. You guys...
You're a little late.
I know, I missed it.
But I appreciate the offer.
But you took the day off, didn't you? Or were you here on your birthday morning?
I was here.
Was that Wednesday? And you were right there the whole time. Well, thank you, yes. Well, happy birthday to you. Thank you. Are you 40 yet?
Yes.
Okay.
And beyond.
Oh, okay. Well... You don't look a day over 40, and there's less of you today than there was before, so I'm glad to see in your advanced age you're taking better care of yourself.
The good news is I feel like I'm in my 40s. Last year at this time I felt like I was in my 80s. So
oh, well, that ain't good.
So you can blow out all 44 candles then?
Yes, right after I get done running for a few minutes.
Yeah, he's out of breath. Well, thank you. And one of our listeners did send us a CBS quote that talks about whoever owned the companies, and there's no clear, you can't just say it's JCPenney's and Walmart's not on that list.
Walmart was listed originally in 2013 as being one of the companies. So was a Canadian chain store. but Walmart never confirmed or denied that they were a supplier.
All right, folks, favor your local merchant. That's just my opinion.
All merchants are local with their local, right?
That's a factual idea. You know, I mean, locally owned merchants. Thank you, Ben. We'll see you Monday. Thank you, Kevin. I'm Mark Lawrence. On the market, WKOK.com for more thoughts. This is WKOK Sunbury.
NBC News Radio, I'm Kristen Welker. At the White House, House Republicans are delaying the start of their August recess. They're trying to pass a bill aimed at dealing with the southwest border crisis. NBC's Steve Handelsman.
On only one issue, the VA fix, is there bipartisan agreement to spend $17 billion and get more doctors and reduce the waits for veterans.
At least one of the